What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another War Within video. Hope you're all doing very well. We're going to talk about Totemic Enhancement Shaman today. We're going to talk about the build that I've been trying in Mythic Plus. This is not a raid build, just in Mythic Plus so far. I do have some footage to show you as well from a key that we've run. And I think this is the build that I've settled on so far. There are a couple talent points that we can play around with here, and I'll get to that in a second. But I just want to talk about how fun this build is and how good it actually feels to play a build that has abilities like Fire Nova again and focuses on this kind of physical slash fire part of the Enhancement Shaman kit, because for the longest time now it's just been kind of nature damage and obviously frost from Ice Strike and Hailstorm, and we really haven't had a chance to get into the Fire Nova stuff. I know there's a build right now for Enhancement Shaman that uses Fire Nova, and it's been making its return, which is just amazing in my opinion because it's a really fun spell. So this build is very fun to play. The sound effects are good. Every time you press Lava Lash and you've got a hot hand proc, you're pressing a Sundering as well, and it's got that chunky, meaty, kind of earthy feel to it. And just on the surface, it just feels really, really great to play, and it feels fun. It sounds good, which is just awesome. Fire Nova is really good. The actual damage of it is also good, and I'll show you really quickly on the dummies here. But the damage of it is good. It's fine. I'll show you in the footage as well. But the rotation here, they've kind of cleaned this up a little bit with the new buffs that you're getting, and I'll talk about this in a second. But the actual damage out of this on 5 targets here, I'll just show you really quickly. We'll do this, and then we'll do into a Sundering. Then we'll go here and do a Fire Nova. We got a Sundering reset. That's a lot of fun. I love me some Sundering resets. You do have to kind of tab target around to get those lashing flame debuffs going, which can be annoying for some people. I know, I understand that, but that is one of the main critical parts of the build, is to make sure that you're doing that. But I'm telling you right now, the consistency of this build just feels very, very good. I think like the ability to get a hot hand window every single time you put your totem down is super fun and engaging, and it means that you have consistent uptime on an ability. There's never like a gap in your rotation. Excuse me, in my experience, there's just really very, very few moments where you have nothing to press, if all. There's basically no moments at all where you have nothing to press. So that's awesome. It's a little bit busy in that sense, but every Enhancement Shaman build is busy. That's just the way that it goes, and the damage is good. Now you can see we're doing a ton of Surging Totem damage. That is going to be the bulk of your damage when you're doing this, but you can see the physical influences here, right? Physical damage from Surging Totem, physical damage from Sundering, physical damage from Fire Nova, physical damage from your Wind Fury, right? There's just a lot. Your Spirit Wolves have an Alpha Wolf proc that does physical damage. So you're doing an enormous amount of physical damage with this build, which is kind of how it works. And that might be kind of an adjustment for some people, but that's kind of how this is set up. You have your haste buff from Primordial Wave, and then you have your hot hand windows, and you're just going into those constantly over and over and over again. Now, you could pivot and run Elemental Spirits and try to fish for Fire Dogs, and there's a very good chance you'll get Fire Dogs because the bulk of the GCDs that you're pressing are either Sundering, which counts as fire in terms of Elemental Spirits, Fire Nova, or Lava Lash, or Flame Shock. Those are all going to count towards fire. You occasionally are pressing Chain Lightning, though, and there's a chance that you're going to be getting a Lightning Dog. You press Crash Lightning, Chain Lightning. You do press Storm Strike occasionally. So there are times when you might end up getting Lightning Dogs as well. But there's a really good argument to be made for going the Elemental Spirits route to buff all the fire damage that's going on here, which of course is Flame Shock, Sundering, Lava Lash, Fire Nova, Flame Tongue attack. So it's really good. There's some flexibility in the talents. You could probably ditch Legacy of the Frost Witch if you wanted to. This is a 25% physical damage amp, which again buffs Surging Totem, which is why our Surging Totem damage is so high. You could drop this and go for some more quality of life, like Storm's Wrath and Flurry. I am dropping those, but it's really, I would say there's some flexibility, but it's not entirely flexible. It's up to you how you think you want to play this. I think this is the best version of what I've come up with so far for this build. Now, some important reminders, okay? This buff has changed. Whirling Elements has changed since a couple weeks ago. So you get the Hot Hand proc from fire. Your direct damage of your next Flame Shock is increased. That's the Earth buff. It means the consistency of your Flame Shock uptime is amazing. Like, you always have Flame Shocks up. And then the Air one basically means that you want to press a chain lightning or a lightning bolt right after you drop the totem so that it bounces off the totem a couple times and gives it that buff, the surging buff from Totemic Rebound. So the buffs are now fantastic and they create a lot of consistent damage in the build. And you're going to see that in the footage. One other important reminder here is that I am taking Molten Thunder. Molten Thunder basically says that you can reset Sundering at any point in time. Any of your other abilities have a chance to reset Sundering. And remember, we're taking Earth Surge, which says anytime I cast Sundering, while my Surging Totem is up, it will do a massive 200% damage pulse. So this combos really well. There will be multiple times where you're going to get Sundering resets within one Surging Totem duration, and it's just going to do a lot of extra damage with your totem. So very, very cool. The only other really issue for this build is that you should be taking Totemic Projection. I don't know why I had Poison Cleanse, but there will be times inside the dungeon when you put your Surging Totem down because you want to finish off, you know, the last little bit of a pack. And then you kill the pack and you move on and your totem's like back in Narnia. So you need to move it. And so you're going to need projection to do that. There are some, you know, the cooldown of the totem is pretty good. It's 24 seconds. So it doesn't happen that often, but there are some moments for sure that are going to crop up where you're like, oh crap, I got to move my totem because it's way over there. It does have a 40-yard damage radius, which is really good. But again, you will need to move it occasionally. Okay. That's basically it. That's kind of what the build does and how the build functions. And I'm going to get into the footage here now. I'll show you the opener. This is a Necrotic Wake 9 that I did with the build. I'm only 627 item level. I'm not 629 like my Ellie or my Resto is. This opening pack that people are doing right now, I really hate this. This kind of drives me crazy. I'm sure the top teams in the world are doing this opening pack right now with this this Gatekeeper guy, but it just ruins pugs in my experience. I'm just pugging this, and we're going to end up getting absolutely wrecked here. My damage will be really, really good right here, so we're going to end up, I think we settled around 4 or 5 million, maybe 4.5 million or something, which is really, really cool. There's a big Fire Nova. But then we end up, you know, we start dying here. There's 4.5 million. So the damage is good. The opening burst is really good. If I got a Sundering reset here, it would have been really crazy. But my problem is this pull. People just think you can run in and do this in a pug, and nobody's really prepared for it, especially the healer. The healer's doing really well, but then the tank just gets wrecked. So I don't know. My bottom line here is just to say that, hey, the damage was actually quite good from us. I'm happy with that. I know, you know, there's Ellie shamans that are doing 20 million. Now they just got nerfed, so just keep that in mind. But just please don't compare, guys. This is like such a bad thing that we do in the community. Don't be comparing to everything else all the time. Like, this damage is very good. I can tell you right now, the average damage that DPS players are doing on these kinds of packs, this is fine. Yes, there's going to be some video that you watch where some enhancement shaman or Ellie shaman or somebody else does 10 to 15 million damage because they've got an Augvoker and a Spy Masters, and like, I don't have any of that stuff here. Okay, this is just a normal key with normal people. I'm not in comms with any of these people, so just bear that all in mind. I don't really have enhancement shaman trinkets that are like good because I'm spec'd out for Resto and for Ellie for the most part. So anyway, I just wanted to make this disclaimer because I'm just a little tired of people being like, oh, well, I've seen another clip of somebody. It's like, I know you have. It's fine. Just, there's a Sundering reset right there, actually, by the way. So here we go. We're redoing this poll, basically. Put my totem down. And then boom, we got our Flame Shocks instantly spreading for free because we got the Primordial Wave. Primordial Wave does count for that buff. And then I got a Sundering reset so I can cast it again. So that's 2 Sunderings inside of 1 totem. And it does so much damage, man. Watch when we press our first Sundering here. Here's Sundering. I'm doing 1.37 million. We press Sundering and boom, we're up to 2 million. Like, it just adds so much damage from that pulse. I'm going to press Sundering again right now. We're doing 27 million overall. We press Sundering and we're doing 36 million suddenly because of the Sundering and the pulse. Like, instantly your damage just goes way up. So I really like the Sundering reset. It's a lot of fun and it can add a tremendous amount of damage. It tends to proc a decent amount as well. So just keep that in mind. Also, our wolf uptime is disgusting, right? We're doing passive wolves and I have 4 of them up right now, which is 60% more fizz damage. It's 15% per buff. That's 60% fizz damage, which is why my totem is hitting so hard. And the Sunderings that proc the totem are also hitting really hard. So that's kind of what you can expect You're not always going to have 4 wolves up, but you can often get 4 wolves up, and it's really, really good. Yeah, the AoE damage is fantastic. I don't think that was necessarily going to be a question at all. We'll get to the single target damage in a minute. I do have Elemental Blast for the single target damage. And again, this is another argument where you could say that Elemental Spirits for my Feral Spirits would be a much better take here, because they're going to buff the damage of Elemental Blast as well. It's a bit of a trade-off, right? Yeah, the free flame shocks are cool. If you take the physical dogs, you don't take elemental spirits, you're going to be buffing, you know, Sundering, Fire Nova, and Surging Totem. Those are going to be big buffs to those abilities, which are massive AoE boosts in damage, okay? If you take elemental spirits, you're going to be speccing more towards the single target damage with your lava lashes and your elemental blasts, hoping that you're obviously going to get a fire dog. If you don't get a fire dog, you'll be a little bit sad about that. But that's the whole point there, is that if you're taking one dog versus the other, you're kind of pushing yourself in one direction or the other. Okay, so just be aware of that. I want to make you really aware of that. Here's with Bloodlust on the first boss. We're going to go crazy here. So we got 3 million already. We had to knock up the Affix there. That's okay. Then we got to kick the Drain Fluids here. We need a Fire Nova. We haven't even done Doom Winds yet because I'm just distracted. There we go. We're going crazy now. We got our full kick going. But everything got deleted, by the way. Those ads just got absolutely deleted, which is awesome. I mean, even the tank's doing crazy amounts of damage, so that's a big reason why we're not even really hitting that hard. But the consistent damage, like I was saying before, every 24 seconds, getting a totem, a Surging Totem that gives you a hot hand proc feels incredibly good. It just feels so good. It makes the damage profile so consistent, and I love that. You always know that you're right around the corner from another hot hand window, from more consistent damage. And that's, which again, every single lava lash you press with hot hand is of course pressing Sundering as well. So you're never worried about any RNG. There's no deeply rooted proc you're waiting for. You're not hoping to like generate enough Maelstrom to make it work. You are always generating a decent amount of Maelstrom, and just because the totem comes back so often, you are always getting that consistent damage profile, and I really enjoy that about this build. It's just solid. It's rock solid, and you never have to worry about it. So that's one of my favorite things about the build, for sure. And I think again, the playstyle's fun. It looks fun. The resets on Sundering are great. There's so many great things about it. And I think the single target damage isn't that bad, actually. This is probably the biggest weakness of the build. The potential weakness of the build is the single target, because you're taking talents like Fire Nova instead of Hailstorm. Hailstorm tends to do more damage for single target, right? But yeah, our damage was good there, and I feel like I didn't even play it that well. Now, right now is one of the problems I was talking about. My Surging Totem is on cooldown for 9 seconds. I did not take Totemic Projection, so I can't bring my totem over and start doing damage. So my damage is really low on this pull, and then I can get my totem down right now, and then I can get Sundering, and suddenly I'll start doing some damage. But that is one thing that I forgot to take in this key, was the Totemic Projection. That's why I reminded you guys. It's something you're going to have to get used to doing. Now, once our totem is down, we caught right up again. Our damage was looking fine there. So it's not necessarily a huge issue, but there's going to be moments in a dungeon where you're like, shoot, I really wish I had my totem right now so I could yoink it over and do lots of damage, okay? So, yeah, that's the build. It's pretty consistent. The damage is solid, both in AoE and single target. There's definitely better specs out there for single target, but I think it can work. I'm going to keep fiddling with the talents and see exactly what I'm able to pull off here, but I think that the damage for the most part is pretty good. We'll go to the very end here, and we'll look at the last boss. We kind of pumped on this boss, actually. This is fun. We didn't even have Bloodlust here on Surgeon Stitchflesh. Obviously, they nerfed Stitchflesh a bit, but we didn't even have Bloodlust here, and we were able to do a decent amount of damage by the end of the fight. So, again, pretty good. This is 2-target cleave, so we're cheating a little bit on our damage. Things like Fire Nova gain way more value when there's one extra target. But I'm trying to put as many LE blasts into Stitchflesh as I can. Here comes my totem. Big damage. We're starting. We got Primordial Wave. I was moving out for the Morbid Fixation there. We're going to get an LE blast on this guy, and then our damage is going to start to climb here. 870, 900. We're going to start to climb, and we're going to catch right up to the warrior here. Yeah, we're above the warrior now. We had a huge LE blast there. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. You can you can always catch up on a pack, even if you can't start with your totem at the beginning of the fight. By the end of the fight, if it lasts for a long enough time, you will catch up. And we have 1.2 million on that boss by the end. So let's look at the final boss here. This boss is a little bit weird for damage because you're going to end up getting sent downstairs and all that stuff, but we'll give this a good shot. You can see the single target damage right out of the gates here. We got to move for frozen binds. Unfortunate. I don't think we lost a GCD there though, which is nice. The tank was able to move the boss. One thing that I'm forgetting to do occasionally is to consume the earth buff on the totem, which is now flame shock related, right? So you have to press a flame shock and it does 300% more damage and then it spreads to 5 targets. So that is something that I am forgetting to do occasionally and something you'll have to get in the mindset of doing. Primordial Wave does consume that buff for you, so you can just do it that way. But if you don't have Primordial Wave up, sometimes when you put your totem down, it's really easy to forget that you need to press that flame shock afterwards. So I do use my totem down here, which again, I thought maybe this was going to be a mistake, but it ended up being really good because I killed the mob really quickly. And then by the time I get back upstairs, my totem is actually back up, which is kind of insane. I didn't actually think that was going to happen, but it did. You can see it's kind of 9 seconds, 8. I got to take my thing into the corner here, and then I'll have the buff once I'm done with my puddle in the corner. And we jump back over, and we get our totem. Now we're going. Our damage is going to climb here. We're doing 500,000 right now, but we've got the buff. We got a Sundering. We're going to start to climb here. We got into our hot hand window. Again, that consistent DPS. We got an LE Blast into a Primordial Wave. Back, we're almost at 700K now when we were at 500K, right? So that's just really great. I like the build a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. I think you guys should try it out and let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear if any of you have experimented with talent builds with Totemic, because I would love to see what you guys think about it. I'm doing the more physical approach, as I said, but you can do a more elemental approach and kind of risk it a little bit and try and get those fire dogs. The fire dogs are also going to buff Sundering and Fire Nova, and then of course Lava Lash, Flame Tongue. They will not buff Surging Totem, so that's the big thing. You can see here Surging Totem did 26% of my damage. I did 1.63 million overall. That is fine. That's a good amount of damage. Okay, I don't care what keys you're doing, what you think should be the best. I'm telling you right now, I've done lots of keys now. That's a good amount of damage to be clocking in a Necrotic Wake right now. So there's stuff I can work on, and I would love to hear your thoughts. What build flexes have you guys done with this particular hero tree with Totemic? Would love to hear from you in the comments down below. But otherwise, guys, thank you so much again for watching. I love you all. I will see you in the next one.